A few years ago, I was often found with friends exploring old, supposedly haunted places. One day we found ourselves at the Estero First Presbyterian Church. There was a girl named Julia Legare who buried her family in a mausoleum in 1852 after presumably dying of diphtheria. Passerbys reported hearing screams coming from the graveyard during the next week, but never investigated the cause of it. 15 years later, when they opened the door of the mausoleum and they entered the next family member who died, they found their skeleton huddled in the corner beside the door. Streaks of dry blood remained on the martyrdom to fear or struggle escape fate. Well, when we got there, my friends and I thought it'd be funny to shut the heavy stone door of the mausoleum behind me and leave me overnight. I was surrounded, unable to move the stone slab without help. For what seemed like an eternity, I struggled in vain, just as Julia once had. Eventually, in the complete darkness, I had no choice but to resign myself to the night ahead of me. I have never been claustrophobic, but the state of the air and the pressure had made my breathing hard, and it felt like overwhelming sadness was literally pushing down my shoulders. As time slowly slipped by, my initial anger faded with a sense of fear and eventually despair. Sometime later, the scratches began. They were faint at first. I was sure it was my imagination, but it seemed to become louder, clearer as time passed, seemed to become more frantic. There was no doubt that something was trying to get in for the door, or anything trying to get out. Huddled to one of the corners from the farthest from the door, covered my ears, but nothing could drown out the sounds. It only lasted for a few minutes, but each second was an unbearable eternity. So I grew so distraught that I finally screamed, or I thought I did, until I realized that voice was not my own. It echoed through the dark, tiny confines of the mausoleum. It was a wail of unrestrained pain and absolutely overwhelming fear. Moments later, I realized that the scratching had stopped, but for the first time, I could distinctly make out the sound of a girl sobbing, the pitiful, choking gasp of someone without a shred of hope left in them. I felt such sorrow at the moment, such pain that I forgot how to be afraid. In all my heart, her suffering seemed to be resonate. The invisible weight of sadness I had felt all along became crushing. Tears filled my eyes as I shook, my entire being racked with grief. Unexplicably, I even found myself apologizing aloud for what I had done between her and the ragged breaths. Some part of it was just fought with pity that I wanted to reach out and hold this girl in the darkness. A part held back only by fear that something might truly have been there to hold. I can't say if she heard me or was aware of my presence. The sobbing never had stopped, and the scratch on the door soon started anew. At some point, I must have passed out from hyperventilation. When I woke up, it was the sound of the stone slab as felt away from the doorway. I landed on the ground with a thud. Even the pale green moonlight was blinding after absolute darkness. Thinking my friends had come back, I rushed out to the foggy morning and sucked in a mouthful of fresh air. I was shocked to find nobody around, but more eager to get away from that place. I stumbled around the front of the church and went to a small, unlocked prayer house. I think it was previously segregated in a mini church for slaves, but regardless, I collapsed right at the door, waiting distraught until my friends finally arrived. I approached them as they clustered around the fallen door. Two of them were kneeling next to me with faces of shock. I was sure they were wondering how I could move it by myself. I was wrong. In the growing light, it was clear. There were dried, bloody streaks covering the interior of the door. Some had light scratches where nails grated to a surface. Many more were smoothed as if bloody nubs. When they noticed me, they all jumped, and after I saw fear in their eyes, my anger must have been clear. They looked down at my hands, thinking I had torn them open to escape. Then they shared a horrific look amongst themselves. They asked of what had happened, and I told them every detail of what I remembered in halting, angry, and equally horrified bits, wanting them to know what I have been put through. Finally, after I grudgingly got into the car, we started to head back. Someone spoke up. My friend said to me, "We are afraid to say anything until we are back in the car. But take a look at your face." When I reached the back seat to adjust the rearview mirror, I saw there was blood caked on my face, just like the streaks upon that stone slab. There were dark red lines on either side, as if someone had run their torn finger across my face while I slept, feeling the warmth of another first time in over 100 years. Well, my pretties, that was Julia Legare, a creepypasta written by Wolf Inix. My final thoughts on this story. Well, it was a pretty good creepypasta, actually. It's a really good creepypasta. I definitely gotta say, I know some people said it as Shinigamiwolfen, but, I'm just gonna put it as what people are referring to, well, who wrote this story. So, it's a pretty interesting creepypasta. I'm not gonna lie, this story was honestly really good. With the paranormal stuff going on, with this Julia person, the protagonist is in there and is, afraid. I mean, it's honestly a really good storyline for this pasta. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought there was a lot of time and opportunity in it, as well as a good concept. The grammar is really good, as well as the sentence structuring, storyline, everything about it. It honestly was really well made. The fact that the protagonist, is hearing, all the screams, and then at the end, he's got, blood all over him. Like, whatever happened was paranormal. Something scratched him in the middle of the night or something. I mean, it's pretty messed up, but like I said, I've heard worse, so. But it honestly, if I'm going to be brutally fair, if this legend was supposedly real, has anyone else experienced the same thing as the protagonist's friends in that they've experienced? Like, has other people have experienced it too? That's honestly a question that I really have to ask. It's like, if there are supposedly other people that have experienced that, why didn't anyone, come out to the public and speak about it? I mean, maybe they were just too afraid to say it or something. I mean, at least a bit of believability would definitely help out. So, but like I said, that's just what I think personally. But despite that, I still find this story to be, a really good read. I really do find this to be a really good story. So, I mean, I remember Mr. Creepypasta narrated this one, and a couple Creepypasta narrators actually decided to narrate this one. So that's why I decided to go ahead and give this one a read. So with that being said, and with that being the case, I'm going to sit here and say that this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is just simply my own personal thoughts. I give this one a 9 out of 10, mainly because while I could say it's a really awesome story, especially the concept in that, we don't really know if other people have been inside this mausoleum and experienced the same thing the protagonist did. Like, if someone came out publicly and said about it, or maybe the person just was afraid to say that they went in there in fear of, getting in trouble or something. I mean, if other people experienced that, would there be a description explaining that the other people have been through this too? And just to see what it was or something? I mean, that would be at least believable in a sense, if you think about it that way. But with that being said, what did you guys personally think of this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better. Feel free to leave me what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Lion Queen. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.